Before we begin, if you enjoy epic sci-fi HFY stories where humanity surprises entire civilizations and proves why humans are unlike any species in the galaxy, make sure to subscribe to Coming the HFY and join us for more incredible adventures among the stars. The first sign that something had gone terribly wrong was when the customs officer dropped her scanner. In the sprawling interstellar transit nexus of Aurelian Reach, a station so massive that entire ecosystems existed within its rotating habitation rings, millions of travelers passed through every week without incident. Merchant princes from distant nebulae, military officers from ancient star empires, traders, explorers, diplomats, and wanderers crossed its shining corridors beneath artificial skies. Among them walked Daniel Mercer, a completely ordinary human from Earth. He was 34 years old, worked as a logistics supervisor for a shipping corporation, carried too much luggage, drank too much coffee, and worried constantly about missing connecting flights. He was not a hero. He was not a soldier. He was certainly not important. At least that was what he believed when he joined the customs line carrying an old black travel case and a slightly worn Earth identification booklet that had survived years of use. Daniel's biggest concern at that moment was whether the station cafeteria sold anything resembling real coffee. He had no idea that within the next few hours his name would spread across half the galaxy. The customs checkpoint moved efficiently until Daniel stepped forward. The officer behind the counter was a tall member of the Serati species, her silver skin reflecting the station lights while intricate tattoos glowed faintly along her arms. Her nameplate identified her as Inspector Lyra Senator. Without looking up, she extended a hand. Travel credentials. Daniel handed over his Earth passport. The moment her eyes settled on the cover, she froze. For several seconds, she simply stared. Daniel assumed she was unfamiliar with human documents. Earth had only recently reopened large-scale interstellar relations after nearly 2 centuries of isolation and internal development. "Is something wrong?" he asked. Lyra didn't answer. Instead, she carefully picked up the passport and examined the silver emblem stamped into the cover. Then she reached beneath the desk and removed a device so old that even its power cell housing looked antique. The object resembled a metallic tablet covered in symbols worn smooth by time. Nearby officers noticed what she was doing and immediately stopped working. Conversations died. The line grew silent. Daniel shifted uncomfortably. "Seriously, is there a problem?" Lyra activated the device and slowly passed it over the emblem. Nothing happened at first. Then the scanner emitted a pulse of brilliant white light. Every display screen in the customs hall flickered simultaneously. A tone echoed through the terminal. It wasn't an alarm. It sounded almost ceremonial. The reaction was immediate. Officers stood up. Travelers stepped backward. One elderly alien actually dropped to one knee. Daniel looked around in confusion. "Okay, now I'm definitely worried." Inspector Lyra stared at him as if she had just seen a ghost. "Where did you obtain this document?" she whispered. Daniel blinked. "My government issued it." The officer swallowed hard. "This seal should not exist." "What seal?" Daniel asked. Lyra slowly turned the passport toward him. The silver emblem of Earth gleamed beneath the station lights. To Daniel, it was ordinary. To everyone else, it apparently was not. Moments later, armed security personnel arrived. Daniel's heart sank. Great. Somehow he'd gotten himself arrested on another planet. Yet instead of drawing weapons, the officers formed a protective perimeter around him. Their commander bowed deeply. "Honored traveler, please accompany us." Daniel stared. "Am I being detained?" "No," the commander replied. "You are being escorted." The distinction did not make him feel better. Within 20 minutes, Daniel found himself traveling through restricted sections of the station that ordinary civilians never saw. Massive doors opened before him. Security checkpoints were bypassed. Personnel stepped aside whenever he approached. Nobody explained anything. Everyone acted nervous. Eventually the escort arrived at an enormous chamber overlooking the station's central starport. Waiting inside were diplomats, historians, military officers, and at the center of them all sat Chancellor Varek Toll, leader of the Aurelian Compact. The old statesman rose as Daniel entered. His expression carried a mixture of disbelief and awe. "You are human?" he asked. Daniel glanced around the room. "Last time I checked." Several officials exchanged stunned looks. The Chancellor approached slowly. "And Earth still exists?" Daniel laughed nervously. "Pretty sure it does. I left 6 days ago." Nobody laughed with him. The room had become silent again. Varek gestured toward a holographic projector. Ancient images appeared in the air. Daniel saw starships unlike anything he recognized, vast fleets crossing space beneath banners bearing a symbol almost identical to the emblem on his passport. 371 years ago, the Chancellor said quietly, the Orion Concord ended the blood epoch. 6 civilizations were on the verge of extinction. Entire sectors burned. Then a species known as humanity united the warring powers through diplomacy, economic support, and technological assistance. They created the Concord Accords and established the foundations of modern galactic law. Daniel stared at the images. "That's impossible. Humans only started widespread interstellar travel recently." "That is what your records claim," Varek replied. "Yet every historical archive in this sector identifies humanity as one of the founders of our civilization." Another image appeared. This time Daniel's confusion vanished. The emblem displayed on the hologram matched the symbol on his passport perfectly. Not similar. Identical. The room watched his reaction carefully. "I've never seen this before," Daniel admitted. Historians immediately began whispering among themselves. For centuries, the disappearance of humanity had remained one of the galaxy's greatest mysteries. According to legend, humans had appeared during an era of endless war, helped create lasting peace, and then vanished beyond known space. Some believed they had been destroyed. Others believed they had transcended physical existence. Entire religions had formed around the mystery. Nobody expected the answer to arrive carrying a travel mug and complaining about airport food. Over the following hours, Daniel answered hundreds of questions. Most of them he couldn't explain. No, Earth did not possess ancient star fleets. No, humanity was not secretly ruling the galaxy. No, he had absolutely no idea why a forgotten civilization seemed to worship symbols found on modern Earth documents. Yet as more records emerged, a pattern began to appear. Ancient star maps referenced a system matching Earth's location. Historic documents contained fragments of recognizable human languages. Archaeological discoveries showed technological designs remarkably similar to modern human engineering concepts. The evidence became overwhelming. Somehow, somewhere in humanity's forgotten past, a chapter of history had been lost. While governments scrambled to investigate, news spread across the station. Crowds gathered outside the diplomatic district hoping to catch a glimpse of the human traveler. Daniel hated every second of it. He wanted coffee, sleep, and perhaps a quiet explanation from someone smarter than himself. Instead, he found himself at the center of the greatest historical discovery in centuries. Then came the revelation that changed everything. Deep within the station archives, researchers uncovered an encrypted message left by the founders of the Concorde. The file had remained unopened for 300 years because its security protocols required genetic verification. When Daniel unknowingly matched the requirements, the archive activated. The recording showed a human woman standing before a field of stars. Her appearance was unmistakably Terran. Her voice carried both pride and sadness. "If this message is being viewed," she said, "then humanity has returned." The entire chamber fell silent. Our mission was never conquest. It was preservation. We left because the galaxy needed time to grow without dependency. One day our descendants would come back, not as rulers, but as equals. When that day arrives, remember what made us strong. Not our fleets. Not our technology. Not our power. Our willingness to believe that different peoples could build something greater together. The message ended. Nobody spoke for a long time. Finally, Chancellor Varek looked toward Daniel. Do you understand what this means? Daniel exhaled slowly. Outside the enormous windows, countless ships crossed the stars. Entire civilizations waited for answers. History itself seemed to be holding its breath. Daniel thought about his family back on Earth, his unfinished paperwork, his coffee addiction, and the absurd fact that he had accidentally become humanity's representative simply because he happened to be standing in the wrong customs line. Then he smiled. Honestly, he said. Not even a little. For the first time that day, the Chancellor laughed. And somewhere beyond the station's shining hull, across thousands of worlds, an ancient promise was finally waking up.